Hello crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a stamping mask. You will learn how to cut out stamped images using your Brother ScanNCut, and the stamp set we'll be using is called Merry Moose. It's part of our 2019 holiday catalog by Stampin Up. Now in my last YouTube tutorial, I showed you how to cut out the raccoon, the scarf, these two trees, and the little hat. And now we're going to continue, but this time we're going to cut out the moose, but without an outline distance. By cutting out the moose, you're going to be able to use it to cover up parts of the images that you want to stamp, or the opposite, you could use it as a moose stencil. Let's get started so you can see what's going on. All right, I'm taking a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Okay. And by the way, that's just my holiday catalog showing you the Merry Moose set, and there's a coordinating punch. Okay, let me put that away. I need space on my table. All right, here we go. We have a piece of Whisper White cardstock. I'm using a little sponge to stamp on. So we're gonna stamp in Memento Black ink. And I'm gonna stamp both of these because although they're both the same, but there's just, see, one of these is just a silhouette, and one of those is an outline. And they are exactly like, but for some reason my little leg got bent a little bit, so they're not lining up exactly right. But it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna stamp both because I just want you to see both. And I'm covering this one up really good with black ink. And you make sure you stamp over where your sponge is. Not too close to the top of your paper because you wanna make sure there's room to be able to make this into a stencil. Okay, now let's do the next moose stamp. Okay, and I'm just gonna ink up, I'm using clear block D, by the way, and I'm just inking it up, Memento Black. Now make sure this one is far enough away from this moose because you're gonna make another stencil out of him, or a mask. You're gonna see what I mean. It'll all become clear when I show you the visual examples. All right, so we have the moose, both of them. I looked it up. Actually, the plural of moose is moose. Okay, so here we are. Let me just show you close up. This one is really great for coloring in with the Stampin' Blends. So that moose is going to be good to have. And then this one is really good for making nice moose shadows and special effects like that. Okay, so we have two different ones, but this actually is going to do the same thing. When I make a mask, I'm really just worried about the outline of this moose. So really, both of these are going to have the same exact outcome. I'm just doing two of them because I like to just reinforce concepts. And because it'll give us an extra mask as well. All right, so let me bring my machine closer. I'm using the Brother ScanNCut SDX125. I'm just going to load this up. I'm loading the mat. You can't see that right now. I'll show you the load mat button. You'll see it once I tilt my camera. Okay. This is an exciting tutorial for me because it's really kind of cool, all the possibilities. All right, so we have, that's what all I've done so far is I've loaded the mat using that button. That's all you missed. Okay, now you can see everything I'm doing. When we go to scan in something, we're gonna click on scan, and we're gonna directly cut this out. Okay, directly cut. And then we're going to store it on the machine. And I'm using 12 by 12 recognition mode because 12 by 12 scan area, I should say. Black and white recognition mode. 12 by 12 because I have one of my moose is down below the 6-inch mark. But if you want to save time, you can use the 12 by 6 area for scanning. It does save time if you only have images at the top. Recognition mode's black and white. And let's get started. So let's say start. So it's going to scan in these images. Now how this is going to differ from my other tutorials is that this time I do not want an outline distance. Okay, I just want to, let's just say okay. I want them just as they are, okay? No outline distance. I'm gonna just zoom in so you can see that. Okay, just as they are. Okay, see? Perfect. I like them just as they are. And we do need to get rid of a couple of little specks. We need to get rid of that speck, and there's a little speck down there. So we'll just say okay. And you could select the area you want to scan, but in this case, there's just 2 moose, so it's fine. We're gonna say okay again. Okay, no, do not click on this one. We don't want an outline distance because we're making a mask. So that's the whole point. Now we do need to say edit, and we need to get rid of any stray bits. Oh, it looks like it already got rid of them for me. If they were still stray bits, I could have hit, when I did that selection, I got rid of the stray bits by not selecting that area. But if they were still stray bits, when I toggle through the selection, I would be able to find those right now. But they're not there, so we're good. So now we're gonna say cut, but here's the deal. I'm not cutting this piece of paper. Let me go ahead and take that off. Gone. Not cutting this. We'll cut it later. Because I don't want to cut that. I want to make a reusable mask. So I'm going to use a piece of acetate. Okay? I'm just putting that on the mat. Piece of acetate. I'll link to my acetate that I use. I just get it from Amazon. I'll link to that later in the description. But it takes me maybe an hour to get that stuff ready. So when you first watch this video, when I first launch it, you will not see my links yet. So have patience, they'll be there. All right, so back to this. Now, because I'm cutting acetate, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna change my settings. I do not wanna keep things the same. When you're cutting really thick material like acetate, if you left a speed at 5, it doesn't have time to get through such thick material. I like to change it down to a 3 when I'm cutting thick material like plastic or acetate. The cut pressure I like to increase. Now, the default settings in your settings on your machine are always in the black square. Okay, I go over this in my courses. These are the default settings, but when you change them, see how the black square is no longer there. So remember, after you do this, to set them back to the defaults for when you're cutting stamped images. Go ahead and I'm going to make a cut pressure of 7. So cut speed of 3, cut pressure of 7, say okay. And we're just going to say start. So it's doing it just like it would cut anything else. It's cutting through this. Okay, now the only thing to remember is that it's gonna, sometimes when it determines that it has thick material, as you notice, this is what just happened. It went from cutting speed of 1 minute to cutting speed of 2 minutes. That's because for some reason it decided that it needed to do 2 passes. You want to make sure that you stop it before it does the second pass, because it's very unlikely the second pass will line up exactly where the first pass is. Okay, I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to stop it as soon as it's done cutting my 2 moose. It's going to... Okay, watch. See how I say stop? Stopped cutting? That's because I saw that it was done cutting my 2 moose. I know that it only takes 1 pass. It doesn't take 2 passes. Look. See that? It's done in 1 pass. If I would have said, let's do a second pass, it most likely would not have lined up where the first pass was, and then it would have got caught, and then I would have had a problem. Okay, so from experience, in my experience, if you are cutting thick material such as maybe some kind of thick cardstock or something really thick like foam board, go ahead and let it do a second pass. But when you're cutting acetate, even though it determined that it needed 2 passes, pause it, quit cutting, and be done with it. Okay, so that's what you're doing. Pausing, quit cutting, and I have my 2 moose that I need. I'm going to unload the mat. I'm going to show you what you do with these now. So we're back to the lesson here. You don't need your machine anymore. Okay, here we are. I'm going to show you. So you have acetate. See those, the moose? Okay, and I could have cut a shape around them also. If you watch my back to school series from last year where I created stencils, I do create shapes around them. Okay, like a I cut out like a little rounded rectangle around them just to make them easier to handle. But for now, I'm just leaving it as a big, I'm just leaving it on the mat, okay? And because we're gonna be concerned with these ones, okay? These we're gonna use, this was the top one, that was the solid one. Let me just show you the solid one. Remember his leg was a little bit different. And this was the one, that was the bottom one, okay? We have just created something which can mask out when we're stamping. It can mask out our stamped image so that when you stamp, this part is protected. It won't be stamped over. Conversely, we also at the same time created a stencil. Okay, I have more information about enlarging the mousse as well in my courses, but I'm not doing that right now. We also created a stencil if you want to sponge color and use your stencil. But for now, I just want to show you this part because my projects I use this part. So here we go. I'm not going to show you how I created my entire project, but I'll show you where to get more information. Let's show you how you can use this concept. I need to get rid of the mat. All right, I'm just going to get a piece of Whisper White cardstock. Okay, here we are. I'm going to tilt my camera so you don't miss any steps. I want you to see why we're doing this. Whenever I show you things, whenever I show you stamp sets and Stampin' Up! Products, I am a demonstrator after all. I want to show you why you learn something. Why would you want to learn this technique? Why would you want to create this? Well, you could have in the past. I mean, when I needed a stamping mask, I just had to cut out things with my scissors and do it that way. But now that you have a Scan and Cut, you have the ability to make things that you can use over and over again. So that's why. I mean, it just makes your life so much easier. So here we go. We're gonna stamp the mousse. We're gonna stamp it onto the paper. Okay. Now, wouldn't that be good if there were a whole group of mousse? Right? So let's do this. Let's take our protective mask. Okay, we're going to put that on top of the mousse. And I'm going to ink up the ink again. Memento Black. I'm going to hold this down, hold it still. And I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to put this mousse, he's walking in front of the other mousse. But he's not going to look like he's in front of him. When I lift the mask off, okay, right now I stamped it on top of that one. But when I lift it, he's actually walking behind him. Because he's walking behind him because I masked over this. Let me show you that closer and we're going to do it one more time. I like to reinforce my concepts. Okay, pretty cool, right? Now we're going to do that again. And why did we use acetate? Because I can wash this off. You know, that's why. If I use paper, you can use paper. It's thinner and it has advantages of being thinner. But the problem is you can't really wash it off. Notice when I use my mask, I move it a little bit farther over. I want the little black part to be exposed slightly, ever so slightly. Okay, I'm inking up this next one. I'm going to hold it down. And I'm just going to make this mousse press down hard. Because this acetate is trying to lift up my stamp, so I have to press down hard. Okay, see that? Now when I lift off my mask, pretty cool. So you could do all kinds of things. I hope your wheels are spinning, creative friends, that you could do all kinds of things now. You can do this to the trees. You can mask out different parts of the image. Okay, so now what I did is I'm done with just showing you the overall concept. When I created my tree scene that I'm about to show you, I went a step further and I would put this down and then I would stamp some trees. So that way the trees look like they were behind the mousse. Okay? And let's show you how I did that. So here's what I came up with. Okay? The same exact concept I'm showing you. The colors I used for this project are, first I stamped in Memento Black. Okay, I stamped the mousse. I did just what I'm showing you. The mousse are walking behind the front mousse. Okay, and this is just one piece of cardstock. Look, no, it's just one piece of cardstock, Whisper White. There's no embellishments on here. It's all just stamped, flat stampings. This is actually just stamps, ink, and paper. So what I did is then I colored them in with the Stampin' Blends, which are crumb cake. I used crumb cake and ivory. Okay, then I used Mossy Meadow and Old Olive for the trees. And in the last video, I showed you how to make different shades of trees by off stamping and things and such. Okay, then I used for the water and the sky, I guess it can be water or sky, I just used the Balmy Blue. Balmy Blue is the color. Then I used Old Olive for the cardstock, and my inside sentiment is stamped in Mossy Meadow. So enjoy the stillness of the season. Okay, so that's my card project that you can use when you create a stamping mask. Okay, furthermore, I'm going to show you something else I did. Okay, now this one, because I used a stamping mask, I put the stamping mask down. I'm not even finished this card yet, but I put it down, and then I put Daffodil Delight behind him. Okay, and then I put some let's see, Gorgeous Grape, and then I put some Pacific Point. I'll write down my colors I used. Okay, so then what I did there, and then I blended them together with sponges, and I created a sunset effect, but he has a glow to him. He has a glow to him because this time I put this right over it, and when I sponged a little bit away, he has a little backlit effect. You see the white glow behind him? That's from using a mask. Okay, so these two I used using the techniques I'm showing you that I just created. Okay, now these though, so I used this technique like that before I sponged. However, there's so much more you can do with the mousse. Okay, this is called the Northern Lights effect. So I've been playing around with this Northern Lights effect because there's a lady she's another demonstrator, and she was on the demonstrator planning place, and that's a place where the demonstrators hang out. We all share ideas with each other, and she did a technique called the Northern Lights effect. This was one of my first attempts with it. She made some straight up rays. I took her concept and I've been to Alaska, so I wanted to come up with sort of I took her concept and I wanted to go, outwards with it. Okay, so her name is Denise. I want to write her name here because she deserves the credit for this, showing me this technique. And I'm also going to link, when this video is over, okay, Denise McCabe. Okay, she showed the Northern Lights technique. Now this technique has been around for years, many years. However, the way she showed it the other day was so awesome that hold on, I can't walk and chew gum. Okay. I know I have a letter missing. There we go. She showed the Northern Lights technique. The way she showed it got me motivated enough to try it. That means she's a very good teacher. The way she showed this Northern Lights technique. So if you have the Merry Moose set, the Merry Moose, right, from the holiday catalog, back to this, okay, you can do these things I'm showing you, and you can use a combination of the things I'm showing you, like with the mask, but in this case, I didn't. In this case, I put the black ink on top at the very end. I didn't need a stamping mask or a stencil. I'm just showing you other things to do with the set because I didn't get to show you in the last video, and I told you I'd do another video on the Merry Moose. So here's the card I created using the Northern Lights technique that I will link to, so you can learn how to do the Northern Lights technique yourself, and you can learn it from Denise because she's the one that taught me how to do it. Okay, so I took her concept of the straight up rays, and she used Daffodil Delight, Pacific Point, and she used Rich Razzleberry. I didn't have the Rich Razzleberry color in ink pads, so I used Gorgeous Grape. So I used Daffodil Delight, Pacific Point, Gorgeous Grape. Then I did a lot of blending, and then at the end you put Night of Navy. You sponge Night of Navy over the entire thing, and that's how you get the nighttime effect. She also adds snow. It's very cool. She didn't do it with a mousse. She just did it with other things like trees, and she used this waterfront set along with the mousse that's called the waterfront because it's one of our scene builders. We have lots of scene builders set, and I also she used trees and I used this mountain from this waterfront set. So this is for my brother, a retirement card. Okay, I like it because it's masculine. Okay, now just finishing up. This was one of the ones I had messed up while I was trying. So what I had done is I was trying to create a retirement card, and my husband said, leave it alone. Your Northern Lights look great. Don't put anything on the front of the card. So what did I do? I tried to put something on the front of the card. I tried to stamp it I tried to do embossing. It just didn't look right. It wasn't masculine. The letters aren't easy to read. And so anyway, I ended up using the Starburst punch to punch out my beautiful Northern Lights effect that I had taken so long to achieve. So this was my first card, turned into a bookmark. Okay, other things you can do with Merry Moose set and your Scan and Cut. So these two, by the way, no Scan and Cut needed for this, except that I use the Scan and Cut obviously to cut my card bases, my layers, my matting, but my circles, my embellishments, but no Scan and Cut needed. I was just trying to show you what you can make with the Merry Moose. Here's something I showed last time, and I just want to show you again. Scan and Cut or the punch, coordinating punch, which I think works better. So to cut out your moose with the stamp set, you save 10% when you buy the bundle. I think I mentioned that already. And these I cut out with the Scan and Cut last video. So I'm just showing you this again. If you missed that video, be sure to check it out in the description of this video. And I cut out all the trees with the Scan and Cut. I cut out this moose and this moose with the punch, but all of the little presents and all the things I cut out with the Scan and Cut. This is called a Z-fold card. And then here's a Merry Moose punch, just using a punch. Okay, and this is called the Brightly Gleaming Designer Series paper. And I used this rose gold and navy ribbon I had from Everything is Rosy product medley that I bought a while back. So I hope you like my projects, and I hope you will check out the Northern Lights technique to use with your moose. And I hope you will hope you will create some mask to do this kind of effect with your moose. And there's lots more you can do with it, because your stencil that you made out of the acetate you can use for sponging the patterns all over the pages. So thank you for watching. This is the Papered Chef.